Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? I hope you guys are all doing very, very well. I know it's been a little bit since I've made a video. I went on vacation. Oh, pillow overboard. I went over on vacation to Oregon to see my family. I did a trip to Powell's. I had a great time, but I, as you can tell, have been a little bit sick and I am getting over a cold, and this is the best I have sounded in a few days. So I am coming to you on the day where I hope I could actually be understood. I hate winter colds, but I always seem to get one, especially when we travel to Oregon where it's significantly colder than it is where I live. And that whole going out in the cold and then coming into warm houses and buildings, it just does this to me. So I am on the road to recovery. I am ready for 2018, and in sort of that spirit, I am starting my best of 2017 videos. I have been really impressed with what people have been doing to sort of mix up the year-end lists. Sometimes you just see, oh, these are the best 10 books that I read in 2017, but some people have come up with some really creative sectionings and different lists, and I think that that's really exciting. So here is sort of my jump into that as well. The other thing that we've been dealing with is, if you guys follow me on Twitter, I'm Ink Paper Blog at Twitter, you guys will know that my cat London, who is the oldest member of my animal family, had an ear infection that turned into an ear issue that turned into needed surgery. So he's actually sitting down here in the corner. He had to have surgery. He's in a cone, so he's pretty miserable. So if he starts to talk to us, I apologize. He definitely needs a lot of care right now. And so let's get started. This is my 2017 best 7 books I read from backlists. What that means is all of these books came out before 2017. They are actually ranked in my least favorite. That's a best of list. But I did rank them. I did 7 of them since it's 2017, so in that order. And I am sick and I am rambling, so let's get to the books. Okay. Number 7 on that list is The Paper Man by Gallagher Lawson. This is actually the first book I read from Unnamed Press, and it has stuck with me all year long. You guys, and I've talked about this book in a number of videos, so I hope that you guys aren't tired of hearing about it. But this is the story of Michael. At the beginning of the novel, we are informed that Michael is made of paper. He is leaving his small town to go to the big city. And when he gets to the big city, he gets caught in a rainstorm, which destroys his paper body, and he is taken in by a woman. It is then the story of how the next 4 people that he meets in succession, a new woman in his life who helps him through this difficult time, a woman from his past, an artist who tries to recreate him, and then someone who, I'll leave the last person for you guys to read. This is a book about art. This is a book about how people allow others to formulate who they are without standing up and kind of creating their own personhood. This is about coming to the realizations of who you are as a person. It is fantastically written, and the story is really compelling. It is interesting and diverse, and I really, really enjoyed the ideas behind this novel, and I still think about them every day when I start thinking about books, and that is The Paper Man by Gallagher Lawson. Now, 2 of the books that are going to be in this list I actually read in December, so they will also be in my December wrap-up. But you know what? They always say don't do your end-of-the-year lists too early. I only have a couple days left, and the book I'm reading is not going to be finished by the time 2018 starts. So the next book I'm going to tell you about is How I Became a North Korean by Krys. Now, if you guys watched my page 112 book tag, you know that this was the book that I chose to take on my trip with me from that, and it was fantastic. This is the story of 3 people. This is the story of, and I'm going to read their names because you guys know how awful I am at names. Young-ju is a teenage boy who lives in an affluent family in North Korea. His father works directly for Dear Leader, as he is called. At the very, very beginning of the book, something has happened. His father falls out of grace, and he and his mother and sister have to flee out of North Korea, and they flee into China. The second person is Jiang Mi. She is a pregnant woman who has paid a lot of money to be marry a man in China. So she walks across the border from North Korea into China to marry a man. He does not know she's pregnant. She is pregnant by a man who will not marry her. And she goes to to China for a great life for her child. And then it's the story of Danny. Danny and his family moved from China to America, where he is a straight-A student, but is constantly picked on. It appears that he is, and it's not that he appears, he is struggling with his own sexuality, and some things happen, and he winds up actually flying to China to find his mother, who is there on a missionary trip. And then everything ensues. These three lives become entangled. You learn a lot about the racism in China against North Koreans. You learn a lot about the different levels of society in China, in this little town, as these people come together as they try to basically get to South Korea. That is their goal. Now, Danny is different because he has a passport and technically can leave or do whatever he wants at any time. But he joins this group as sort of a quasi-leader. And it's about the interchanging dynamics of who these people are and what they'll do to survive. This book is beautifully written. Krys Lee, I know, is also a translator. She was born in Korea, raised partly in I want to say San Francisco. I think she lives near me. But she also now currently teaches in Seoul at a university. She teaches creative writing, and I know she translates a lot. She is one heck of a writer. This book has everything that you will need. The story is compelling. It is beautifully written. The characters are well drawn out. You feel for them. I was on the edge of my seat on whether the story would go one direction or another. It is so very, very good. So that is How I Became a North Korean by Krys Lee. I'm a little rambly today, so I apologize. And yeah, sorry. The next book I'm going to tell you about is Whatever Happened to Interracial Love, a collection of short stories by Kathleen Collins. Now, Kathleen Collins is no longer with us, and this was published posthumously, and this is an amazing collection of stories about race in America. I've already talked about it a number of times on my channel because I really think that this is a short story collection that everyone should read. She was truly a talent, and I'm sad that at this point it doesn't look like there will be any more books out by her. I'm really hoping that that's not true. The stories really do deal with race in America from all sorts of different angles. Internal racism within the Black community, interracial love and how everyone views that differently, how the people in an interracial relationship view their own relationship. It's fantastic. It is intelligent. It is beautifully written. And if you have not picked up Whatever Happened to Interracial Love by Kathleen Collins, you really are missing out. Next on the list is, yeah, so excited. When God Was a Rabbit by Sarah Winman. I've actually read both Sarah Winman's books this year that are already out, and you guys have probably heard about Tin Man, which is doing very, very well over in Britain right now. It hasn't been published in America yet. But I adore Sarah Winman. I think she's a fantastic writer. And this was her first novel. And this is the story of Ellie. Ellie is a young girl in a family. Her family is fairly well-to-do, and it's kind of a hard book to describe because a lot goes on. But let's just say this. She has a friendship with a young girl that is very important, a poor girl whose family is struggling. That sort of haunts her through her entire life. It is about her and her family. They decide to sell their house, and they move to the country, and they own a bed and breakfast. It has to do with her brother. He moves to America. He comes out of the closet. He deals with 9/11. The family deals with 9/11 and sort of the atrocity and tragedy that brought a lot of people. There is also an amazing sense of friendship. There are many different levels of friendship in this book. Sarah is she's just so good at developing a character that you will care about. She writes a story that is compelling. It also is rather epic in a small way because you are traveling across all of these time periods together. It is very, very, very good. When God Was a Rabbit, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it in audio. Sarah reads it and she's fantastic. The next book I'm going to tell you about is The Arrival by Shaun Tan. This book has no words. This is actually a graphic novel with no words. This is a story of immigration. It's a story of starting a new life for your family. It's the story of being scared of what you think is supposed to happen and when it doesn't, and the changes you have to make. The artwork is freaking gorgeous. Let me just show you this page. Yeah, there is a sense of magic to it. There's a sense of real stress and power, and with just an image, Shaun Tan can really just draw your heart out and stomp on it, but also make you hopeful by the end. And it is really quite brilliant. And that's The Arrival by Shaun Tan. Okay, the last two, the top two books that I have read from the backlist this year. You guys will not be surprised if you watch my very first video that The Magnificent Spinster by May Sarton is on this list. I am a huge May Sarton fan, and this book is just fantastic, and it was one of the first books I ever talked to you about on my channel. This is the story of, I want to say her name is Jane, but let me just make sure. Yes, oh, I don't know. Let me see. Yes, Jane. Gosh, sorry about that. Big, long pause. This is the story of Jane. She comes from a family. They own a house, and they're fairly well-to-do. And this is about her life and what she chooses to do as an independent woman. She wants to teach. She does become a teacher. She helps people. She creates relationships with strong women. And it's sort of the story of how all of those relationships come to fruition, how they form who she is as a person. She buys her own house separate from her family. People move in, they go back and forth, and it is just really, really beautifully written. Jane is an amazingly strong woman. She does what she thinks is best. There's also an echo of loneliness that is really telling for people who choose to be selfless, and their life is about helping others. She travels during, I can't remember if it's World War I or World War II. She travels over to Europe. She volunteers there. She creates relationships with people, all in the hopes of bettering the world around her. Again, May Sarton could write the phone book and I would read it. It is so beautiful, and the character is so well thought out that you guys will really fall for her. The book is out in a number of editions. You could definitely probably find it at a used bookstore. I found this amazing hardback copy, and I just adored The Magnificent Spinster by May Sarton. Last but not least, and if you guys are a fan of my Instagram or my Twitter, you know that when I talked about this book on there, I basically said every once in a while you read a book that just stops you. And I have no idea how this book wound up in my house. I think I bought it randomly, and it's After the Parade by Lori Ostlund. And as far as I know, this is her only novel so far. She does have a collection of short stories out. But this is a book that just blew me away. Stoner by John Williams is my favorite book, and I love it for its quiet power. And this book also has such an amazing quiet power to it. This is the story of Aaron. Aaron is in his 40s, and he leaves his lover, who he's been with for 20 years, in New Mexico to move to San Francisco to start life over. Now, he has been with his lover since he was very, very young. His lover kind of saved him. I'm going to use saved in quotation marks, but what happens is you learn that when he's very young, Aaron's father dies, and his mother moves him to a small town, and then when he is a senior in high school, disappears. And in that last year, he meets his lover, and then they move off. Aaron goes to school, becomes an ESL teacher, and this book is really about two things. It's about the life that led Aaron to the relationship he has with Walter, who is his partner at the time, and also the relationships and the decisions it makes when you decide that you're no longer in love with someone and you need to start over, but you love them. And that hard choice of to leave someone you love to love yourself more. Does that make sense? This book is poetic. This book is tragic. This book is hopeful. This book is heartbreaking. But it's all done in such a quiet, lyrical way that I could not stop reading this book. It is just so good. Aaron is one of those characters that at times you hate him for the decisions he's making. At times you feel for him. You really want him to find happiness. And in that, Laurie Ostlund just makes this character so real that I felt like he was sitting next to me telling his story. Does that make sense? I adored this book. It is firmly up there in my top books that I have ever read, and is hands down the best backlist book I read this year. And that is After the Parade by Laurie Ostlund. So with my rambling and my sickness, I apologize this video went a little bit longer than I wanted it to. But I hope you all are well. As always, if you are a returnee to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much. Let's talk about these books. Have you read any of them? Let me know. If you are new to my channel, again, welcome. Thank you for coming. I hope you liked this video. And until next time, happy reading, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.